It was Christmas Eve, and the whole neighborhood was lit up with Christmas lights. It was beautiful, but something felt off about the house at the end of the street. Everyone had decorated their homes, but the one house at the corner never participated. It was always dark. This year, however, there was a light. A single, flickering light in the upstairs window. Jason and his friends were curious, so they decided to check it out after dark. They sneaked over, trying not to get caught. The air was freezing, and the snow crunched beneath their boots. But something about the house felt wrong. Why the hell is there only one light on? Jason asked, shivering. It's like someone's waiting for us. They crept closer, and the front door creaked open, almost as if it had been expecting them. Dude, this is messed up, said Tyler, backing away. But Jason pushed him forward. Come on, it's just a stupid house. When they stepped inside, the warmth hit them, and the smell of pine and cinnamon filled the air. It felt like Christmas in there, but there was no one around. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. They turned to see a figure standing in the shadows, its face covered by a Santa mask. You shouldn't have come here, the figure said in a raspy voice. You're not invited. The room grew colder, and the lights flickered off. The house was no longer warm, it was freezing. Jason and his friends ran to the door, but it was locked. The figure began to laugh, and the sound echoed through the empty halls. Samantha had always loved the Christmas carolers who came by her house every year. It was a tradition in the neighborhood, and it was always a reminder that Christmas was here. But this year felt different. It was late on Christmas Eve when the carolers arrived. She opened the door to find a group of people in old-fashioned clothing, singing cheerful tunes. But as they sang, their smiles looked forced, and their eyes were cold and empty. Good evening, Samantha greeted them, forcing a smile. Thank you for coming by. The carolers didn't respond. Instead, they kept singing, their voices growing louder and more distorted. Samantha's smile faded as their song twisted into something darker. The air grew thick, and she felt a cold chill running down her spine. Then, the lead caroler stepped forward. His face was pale, almost lifeless, and his mouth stretched into a smile too wide to be normal. You're next, he whispered. Before Samantha could react, the carolers shoved past her and entered the house. The front door slammed shut, and the carolers began singing louder, their voices now a deafening screech. They circled around her, chanting something she couldn't understand. Samantha tried to scream, but no sound came out. The walls around her seemed to close in, and the floor beneath her feet felt like it was sinking into the earth. The carolers didn't stop singing. They just kept getting closer. It was Christmas night, and the Wilson family had just finished their Christmas dinner. The house was warm, filled with the smell of cinnamon, turkey, and pine. The kids were in bed, dreaming of presents, and the parents were sitting by the fire, enjoying their quiet evening. But then, there was a knock at the basement door. Who's that? Mr. Wilson asked, raising an eyebrow. It's too late for anyone to be out there. His wife, Sarah, frowned. Maybe it's just the wind. But the knock came again. 3 sharp raps. The kind of knock that made your stomach turn. Okay, that's weird, Mr. Wilson said, getting up. He walked to the basement door and opened it, but there was nothing there. Only darkness. He turned to his wife. It's nothing. Probably just the house settling. Later that night, they were woken up by the sound of heavy footsteps moving around the house. Sarah sat up in bed, confused. What's that noise? She whispered. It's probably the kids, Mr. Wilson said, but he sounded unsure. They went to check on the kids, but the rooms were empty. The beds were untouched. The house was completely still. But then they heard the laughter. It was low, almost like a growl, and it came from the basement. Mr. Wilson grabbed a flashlight and hurried down the stairs. When he reached the basement door, he hesitated. Then he opened it. The basement was cold, and the flashlight flickered as he stepped inside. That's when he saw it. A figure dressed in a torn Santa suit, its face covered in grime, sitting in the corner, staring at him. Its eyes were wide open, empty, and its smile was stretched too far to be human. "You're not supposed to be here," it whispered, and before Mr. Wilson could react, the door slammed shut behind him.